So welcome and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. We're happy to be here. Good morning to everyone out there. Welcome to the MSIX for Recruiters and Data Specialist session at the IDRC Summer Institute. All right, next slide. So we'll have a few speakers during the session and we'll each introduce ourselves. If you would like, if you haven't already, you could put your name, your location, and your job title or multiple job titles if you have multiple in the chat box while we're doing this. My name is Benjamin Starr. I live in Maryland. I work for the U.S. Department of Education in the Office of Migrant Education, and our office is in downtown D.C., just behind the Air and Space Museum on the National Mall, if you've ever been there. I've been in OME for almost 2 years, and I'm a program officer for some states in the upper Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic, and I'm also the project manager for MSIX. And I'm joined today by, we'll go to Pascal next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pascal Thompson. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. I am on the MSIX team, and I'm happy to support and serve you today. I've been on the team for about a year and am also joined by my colleague, Melissa Abrams.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Melissa Abrams. I am a member of the Deloitte M6 team and happy to be here today. I've been on the project for just about a year, and I come from Washington, D.C. this morning. And we will also later today be joined by Sarah Storms, who is also a member of our team and the M6 operations and security lead. So back to you, Ben.
Perfect, perfect. All right, and I see a lot of folks are putting their names and roles in the chat. Thank you all for doing that. It's good for us to get an idea of who exactly is here, because you never know who exactly shows up. So it is important for us to know who specifically is here today. So thank you for doing that. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so a quick icebreaker. What summer activity are you looking forward to the most? It is almost Memorial Day and almost summer, so we've almost made it. Melissa, why don't you go first on this one?
I am looking forward to spending some time at the beach over the summer and enjoying the sun and listening to the ocean and just relaxing.
Listening to the ocean, that's a good one.
Yes.
Pascal?
We use our backyard a bunch during the summer, and so I'm excited to have a sidewalk chalk out with the kids and bubbles and our inflatable pool and light a fire at the end of the summer nights. We just love being outside, given that Boston only has about a month of summertime. So we really capitalize on our space.
Very nice. Jessica, how about you? Jessica, what are you looking forward to this summer?
I was just thinking what I was thinking. My kids, I enjoy when my kids get when they get off of school. And so they just finished yesterday. And so we usually rent a pontoon boat and go out at this lake that's not far from our house, and they jump and dive off this boat. And it's one of our favorite days of the summer. And so anything with water, I'm up for it.
That sounds great. Let's see. Wow, your kids are almost out of school. Our school in Maryland, in the district that I live in, our last day for kids is June 24th. So we still have like a whole nother month of school left. We started really late this year. But I am looking forward to the beach. We have a 1-week vacation, and I've done it pretty much every year since I was a very small child. And it's not quite as much fun now that I'm a parent and a grown-up, but I still have a really good time. All right, and I saw a lot of good stuff in the chat. I saw barbecue, the beach, vacation. All right, water park time. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, water park. Spending time with the kids and the grandkids, camping. All right. Hosting a binational teacher for our summer school program. All right, Mimi, very cool. Hiking in the national parks. All right, yeah, and using the pool. Oh yeah, they're getting that pool ready to go right now. Oh, traveling to Mexico. All right, Miss Mello, very good. Yeah, grandchildren, gardening. Yeah, love it. Okay, all right, let's go on to the next one. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. We're going to start with an M6 overview. For those of you who, who use the system or are somewhat new to it, we're just going to share a little bit about how it works. Even if you use it, you might not be aware of how all the data gets into the system. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I'm going to break down the student search and the consolidated record report and how those are used, some changes that we've made. And then I think Pascal is going to talk about the data requests and the move notices. And then we're going to get into the recent M6 enhancements, and hopefully Sarah will be back for that. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers. So please feel free to put stuff in the chat. We'll try to address it during, if we can just pause and address your questions or comments. Or if you want to hold them to the end, that's totally fine too. We do have some time set aside at the end where we'll just be focusing on questions from the audience. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, so let's start. I know Jessica asked who uses M6. How about which functionality do you use most often? What part of M6 do you use the most? I would say for me, it would have to be reports. There'll be a certain piece of information that we need for something in OME to make a decision or to figure out what's going on. And so we'll run reports. Oh, here it comes in. Move notices, the reconciliation. Ooh, good one. Verifying date of births. Oh, interesting. I don't think I've heard that one before. All right, thank you, Julia. Data requests, move notices, the searches. How about you, Melissa? Melissa, what's your most used aspect of M6?
I would definitely say it's the reports feature, whether it's looking at how many users we have logging into the system or looking at the child count reports to see the status of states for the performance period. So those are my main two areas that I take a look at on a daily basis.
That makes sense. Pascal.
Yeah, I would actually echo Melissa because we do similar work on the team. And so using the reports is usually my go-to for supporting the program.
All right, perfect. Got a lot of stuff on enrollments, reports, move notices, seem like our main student information, the M6 history, to verify if a student is a current MEP student. Okay, very good. All right, so we kind of got a follow-up question to this on the next slide. So M6, like most computer systems that we work with nowadays, doesn't just stay exactly the same. It stays pretty similar, from day to day, week to week, month to month, but we do make enhancements and changes to it. And we have heard that training for M6 is a need. We know that a lot of users of M6 are new. They have 1 to 3 or less than 1 years of experience. So we want to know what areas we should be focusing on. We might want to offer additional training in. So we wanted to ask, which M6 functionality would you like additional training on, or perhaps a demonstration of? Okay, and reports. Okay, reports. Wow, there it is. Reports. Okay. How about any specific reports? Who has access to reports? Reports, move notices, filtering. Okay, filtering. Thank you, P. Perry. All right, reports. Missed students. Okay. Good. Missed enrollments, child reconciliation. All right. How to filter. Okay, they like that one. Too new, don't know what I don't know. Okay, well, good. We're going to get some of your stuff today, definitely. Reports on a smaller scale to run for practice before running a larger report. Okay, interesting, Ray. Very good. Reconciliation. Yes, we're actually planning something for reconciliation for later, for in a few months. So that's good to know. Just running reports in general. Okay, reports. All right, we've got our marching orders. It sounds like reports is it. Okay. All right, perfect. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just before we get into the M6 overview, I want to do a quick privacy reminder. Every day, there's more and more people seemingly try to break into computer systems and steal information. And in education, we handle a lot of sensitive information of students, and we have their personal information. So it's our responsibility to be really careful and make sure that only people that need to have it and that are authorized to have it can get access to it. So as users of M6, that's part of your responsibility, because a lot of breaches are a result of human error. You know, someone nefarious out there did something to try and get there, but they weren't able to get in until somebody, you know, made a little mistake, and then all of a sudden the information was out there. So it's really important to be careful when using M6 and to not share the data with anyone who's not authorized to do it. And whenever we do demonstrations like this or trainings or presentations, we will put up fictitious information. So you'll notice that the information we put up on the screen and some of the screenshots today is not real. We will make sure to protect the identity, and we wouldn't share real children's information in a thing like this because not everyone here needs to know it. And in green there at the bottom, please do not email children's information or screenshots to the help desk. That's one of our biggest things we get PII incidents for, which we have to report to the, the Federal Security Office, which, leads to other reports, and nobody wants to have to do that. So, and it makes the system look bad. So we just want to make sure that nobody's emailing PII. All right. Okay, Brenda said, training for recruiters on the use of M6 to support their IDNR efforts. Okay, very good. Yes, and Carlos seconded that. Perfect. Qualifying activity, Gomez said. All right, okay, so that's our PII reminder. Let's go ahead and move on, please. Next slide. Okay, and I'm going to pass it off to Miss Abrams.
Thanks so much, Ben. So I'm going to kick us off today with a M6 overview. So I'm going to go ahead into the next slide. So as many of you know, migratory children move from place to place, often on short notice, and families may not have time to gather their children's education and health documentation before re-enrolling them in a new school district. This can delay enrollment or result in misplacement or grade or course level. And so M6 works to ensure that a migratory child's academic progress is documented in a central system accessible by all states wherever they go. And so in order to do this, M6 is a web-based application that links states' migrant systems to produce a single consolidated student record composed of minimum data elements, or you'll hear us refer to them as MDEs. This not only allows for the generation and analysis of national migrant trends, but primarily assists with authorized personnel to make informed decisions on enrollment, grade or course placement in a new school, accrual of credits towards graduation, and participation in the migrant education program. So taking a look at the M6 system architecture, this graphic displays how data flows between the state systems, M6, and to the end users. So as you can see, M6 receives data through secure file transfers from your state's MEP systems to create a consolidated student record, which can be viewed by the M6 end users, which are all of you. M6 currently does not support direct data entry. So the data that you see in M6 is a consolidation of the data that's entered from your state system. As such, the state systems remains an authoritative source of data. So it's important that you keep your state data as accurate as possible and ensure that your state makes timely updates to M6 so that data in M6 is also as accurate as possible. And we'll take a look here. Another question for the audience. So as you work to support migratory children and their families, what's the most useful aspect of your state's migratory system and database? So we're looking to know, what do you use daily in your state systems that you might want to see active in M6 or in a custom database, something like that. So looking for answers in the chat, and I'll be reading some of them out, but we'd like to know your feedback.
Melissa, you made a really nice point about the the importance of the data being accurate in state systems, because what's in the state system, like MIS 2000 or MSIN or SMART, literally goes exactly into MSIX. So if the data in the state system is, incomplete or inaccurate, then the data in MSIX is going to be incomplete or inaccurate. We're only as good as the data that comes into the system. So it is really important for that to happen. Okay.
Ben, you just clicked mute.
Oh, and sorry, and I just put in the chat the MSIX help desk. Some of the things that were coming in about earlier were very specific, and the things people wanted training or help with. And while the help desk doesn't do like formal trainings, they do offer specific technical assistance with issues. And if you're trying to do something specific, like pull up assessment data on a specific child and you can't find it or understand it, you more than welcome to call the help desk and say, hey, can you help walk me through how to find this or how to interpret it? The MSIX help desk is really, really good.
That's a great point, Ben.
And it looks like we had some responses come in, Melissa, from the chat.
Yes, I see Jamie said she loves the electronic COE feature and the ability to print COEs from the state website. Tracy said the student history section is helpful. The ability to make sure that you're submitting the correct information so you can double check spelling, birthdays, and addresses in your state system. So yes, if that information is accurate in your state system, it will accurately populate into MSIX. So making sure that you're confirming that within your state system is extremely important. Heather said in California, the MSIN system is crucial for completing ECOEs, with needs assessments and recording services the children receive. So it seems COEs is a common theme here. We'll give it about one more second and then we'll go ahead and move on. So thank you all for your feedback, and I'll turn it over to Ben.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the student search and the consolidated student record report. We have had some updates and some changes to this. The new consolidated student record report filters allow users to export custom PDFs in which you can select which criteria and report elements are displayed. In case you don't want to put everything on the consolidated student record, you can just pick from certain items. And so that's a change that we'll walk you through a little bit today. But we're going to start with student search. So next slide, please. All right, so first you can access a child's information by typing at least one of the elements on the student record search. And you can type in first name, last name, date of birth, ID, be it MSIX ID, state ID, or an alternative ID, and the parent first name or the parent last name. And you hit the search button and it will bring up a list of possibles. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we show a name actually entered. The bike roller is the name that the person was searching for. And then there's a black arrow there on the screen, which is pointing to the advanced search button. So if you hit the advanced search button, it will take you to the next screen, which has more fields. All right, and here it is. And you might have seen something like this in other systems. This is pretty common. I've seen this in quite a number of IT systems where there's like a basic search and an advanced search. So the advanced search option in MSIX allows extra fields such as sex, additional birth information, the district of residence, the school. There's a lot of different things that you can search for in addition to the name and the other things in the basic search. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, perfect, thank you. The advanced search option also allows fields for the student's district of residence, the school, the facility name, And you can enter those right here, and it shows, we just showed the second half of the screen here, scroll down, or you can search for users in the system. And so at minimum, there are certain elements that you have to put in to search for a child. Like you can't just put in, the school name and search. You have to put in at least one of the following. You have to do either first name, last name, date of birth, ID, or parent first or last name. You have to put in one of those and then hit submit. Okay, so next slide, please. All right, so true, false question. True or false? You have a 50-50 chance. You can search for a student by entering only their district of residence. Good, good. Wow, excellent. False. Yes, false is correct. You can search for district of residence, but you have to have one of the minimum elements, which I just listed, which were first name, last name, date of birth, ID, or parent first or last name. You have to have one of those to be able to search. Okay, wow, it looks like 100% we got that right. Excellent. I was worried. I was a little worried, but I'm glad. Very good. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so moving right along. Once the student information is submitted, so you put in the first name and the last name, it will take you to, and it will bring up a list of possibles. Once you click on the one you want, so in this case, we've clicked on bike roller. Once you click on bike roller, it takes you to the consolidated student record report. So this report includes student information that's helpful to recruiters, like we have many here today, data administrators, and this data includes a student overview section, which you see on the kind of the middle here: birth date, birthplace, birth verification, parents' names, and then there's also a qualifying move information section on the right there, and it's got the qualifying arrival date, the eligibility expiration date, and the qualifying move to and from. And for those of you that like Game of Thrones, you can see that we have fictitious information there. All right, next slide, please. Okay, perfect, thank you. This report also includes academic information such as graduation data, which you can see right there in the top right, whether they've passed Algebra 1, which is a really important gatekeeper class for graduating high school, a good predictor of future economic and academic success. And it's got information on their enrollments, including what state, the school, the enrollment dates, what grade, whether they have immunization records, if they have a disability, or they're an English learner or priority for services. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so once you have accessed the student information, so you put in the name, you searched for it, it came up with a list of possibles, you clicked on the one, you can export it, and you can take this information in different ways. And so right here in the top right-hand corner, we've got 4 ways that we have right now that are possible. There's an HTML file, a Word file, or the one we have the arrow pointing to, that big black arrow, is the custom PDF. So custom means that you can customize it. You can change some features of it. You can't change absolutely everything, but there are some things that you can change. So let's pretend that we click on the custom PDF button. If we hit that custom PDF button, it takes us to this screen right here. It's called, I think it's called a splash page. And after selecting the custom PDF option, this will appear. This will include checkboxes for the different filterable criteria, such as grade level and enrollment date range. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, it also includes the report elements, which you can include or not include, such as course history information, assessments, and enrollment comments. So maybe you don't want to know, maybe you've looked at the student record report and the assessment information isn't relevant to what you're doing with the student today, and so you can check that off and the assessment information won't print. Or maybe you just want the assessment information. That's what you need. You're giving it to a guidance counselor for placement. So you can pick and choose what you want. And there's an option for English or Spanish. Okay, you pick all your options that you want, and then you hit that submit button with the big black arrow. Okay. Oh, De La Cruz asked, if we do not have access to MSIX, do we notify the help desk? The help desk can't get you access to MSIX. That is actually done by the states, but they could point you in the right direction and could provide you with someone in your state to contact about it. So good question on that one. Okay. So we're still in the custom PDF. We're going through the custom PDF. There is a button there that says, now it says downloads. What do you want to do with the student details? And you can either open the file or you can save it to your device. This is pretty standard when you start exporting things in different systems. Okay, so now the next screen, please. There we go, perfect. Now we've got the consolidated student record report. You can see the title at the top of it. It's got the student's birth date, the name, the MSIX ID, and again, all this is fictitious. And so now this report will only have the options or will be customized in the way that you wanted it to be based on the selections you made on the last screen. Okay, all right. Let me quick check the chat. Okay, it looks like Elsa asked, under historical view, when conducting a student search, we used to be able to sort by the columns. Are you able to bring this feature back? Elsa, that's a good question. We can bring features back, and we are always interested to hear comments like that at events like this, because we want to know what things people want and need or maybe used to like that are gone now. It does take time to do that, so it wouldn't be right away, but we can certainly add that to our list. Okay, all right, let's keep moving to the next slide, please. Okay, so quick question. Once I find a consolidated student record, so you typed in the student's name, you searched for them, you found them, you clicked on it, I can filter it for the following sections: assessments, enrollment comments, course history, or all of the above. All right. Wow, we're good. We're good today. D. All right, good. Everyone must have had their coffee this morning. Excellent. D. Perfect. All. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Yes. All of the above you can filter. So you can pick to have all of these or just a few of them, maybe just one, whatever suits your particular purpose. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, and now I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Thompson.
Thanks, Ben. So we'll now discuss two important tools for interstate communication: data request and move notices. So data requests should be used to request additional information to serve a migratory child. Let's say a child arrives in your state and you notice the child's record is missing current course history information, such as grade to date or clock hours. Even though the child left in the middle of the semester, you can use the data request link on the student's record to ask the sending states and districts to submit this information to MSIX. So why should you use data requests in MSIX as opposed to just sending an email to someone in another area? You should utilize data requests in MSIX because MSIX regulations mandate a response back to you within 4 working days. MSIX will keep a log of the correspondence in case you need to refer to it in the future. You can also keep children's personal data secure. And once that data is in MSIX, it stays in MSIX. If you have a question about a student's record, it is very likely that someone else may have the same question as well. So using data requests to resolve your question ensures that the information stays in MSIX and is available to all MEP staff. And finally, you should use data requests to ensure that your query is routed to all active data administrators who can respond to it. MSIX also does the work of identifying active data administrators in the area in which you are sending the data request, so you don't have to find their contact information on your own. To send a data request, you just complete a student record search. You open the record, and then you select data request, which will open a pop-up window for the request. You can view all requests and correspondence in the data request work list. Additionally, a demonstration video is also available to you and it's on the MSIX training section under videos. Just to note, two important notes to make is that if you are a user administrator, it's important that your MSIX user accounts and rules are up to date so that the correct people receive data requests and move notices when they are sent from other areas. And if you know it, you can also enter the district of residence for the child instead of the school district. Some states will use that method because it will route the data requests to the district data administrators in the district of residence, which is helpful for obtaining information about preschoolers, out-of-school youth, and other children who may not be enrolled in school at that time. We'll move on to move notices, which are also a powerful tool for both inter and intrastate coordination. At its foundation, a move notice gives you the ability to alert another state, district, or school that a child will or has already changed their location. In your area, when a child is changing a location, they are either moving to or from your location. And as a result, there are two types of move notices in MSIX: move to and move from notices. Move to notices notify the recipient that a migratory child has moved to the recipient's area. This type of move notice is critical to accelerating identification and recruitment efforts. The more information you can provide about the child or the move, the better. It's especially helpful to include information about the district to which the student is moving and the family's contact information. If that information is available, it's great to provide it so that recruiters in the area can find the child. Move from notices notify the recipient that a migratory child has moved out of the recipient's area into the move notice sender's area. As a recruiter, say you're working with a family who mentions they're moving tomorrow. You can literally log into MSIX on the spot via your phone and send a move notice immediately to the appropriate state, district, or region as you're speaking with the family. Move notices also allow you to log a history of notifications to help identify mobility patterns and to establish your network between states as you interact with other MSIX users. Now, there's some important considerations. First, most user roles in MSIX can initiate a move notice, but only data administrators can receive, reassign, or dismiss these notifications, which should be routed accordingly if it's not done automatically. All MEP programs should establish procedures so that MSIX move notices are handled promptly. The move notice functionality in MSIX also includes a correspondence feature. This is extremely valuable to providing additional information, such as a family's contact information, so that the receiving area can more quickly and easily identify and recruit the family for enrollment in the MEP. To initiate a move notice, you complete a student record search, open up the record, then select Move Notice, which will open up a pop-up window for the request. From there, you can toggle between Move To and Move From notices, and you can view all requests and correspondence in the Move Notice work list. Additionally, A demonstration video for move notices is also available on the M6 page in the training section under videos.
Has anyone
Let's do-
ever watched has anyone ever watched the move notice or the data request video? I know we've had a few folks say that they like them and like share them with others. Has anyone here today ever watched one of those videos? No, no, no. Yes. Oh, all right. We got a yes. Good. 2 yeses. There's a video. Yes, Ray, there is. There's 2 videos. There's one for move notices
Yep.
and there's one for data requests that walk you through how to do it. Okay, so if you're interested, you can log, it's inside M6. You have to log into M6,
Yeah.
go to the training page, and then they're posted there.
Great.
Gal and Ben, we had a great question from Virginia. When a family qualifies for the MEP, how long does it take them to appear in M6? The family had moved and she tried to look them up to create a move notice for them, but they didn't come up. Virginia, fantastic question. A family will appear in M6 or a child will appear in M6 once that data is submitted from the state. So you'll want to ensure that the data is in the state system for that child and other children in that family. And then depending upon your state's file submission timeline or other states' file submission timeline, that depends when that child's information will be available. So we do overnight batch processing. So a state will submit a file to M6. Overnight, we will process that data into M6. And then the next day, you should be able to see that student's record. And then 2 days later, you'll be able to run reports on that information.
Virginia, did that answer your question? Who was it from Virginia? Oh, it's a long way up.
Great. You're welcome.
Perfect. And Emily had a
Emily,
question too. She asked, what are the receive, reassign, or dismiss categories? I've received the dismiss notices, but I didn't know what that meant.
So the dismiss is to get the move notice out of your work list queue. The dismiss just basically means that the person who dismissed it acknowledged that they received the move notice, took any actions that they needed, and removed it from their work list queue. Emily, did that answer your question? Fantastic.
All right. Okay, Pascal, I think it's still you, right?
Yeah, let's do a quick poll question. There you go. Everyone can answer in the chat. What was the last state you sent a move notice to or from or a data request to? And how long ago was it? You can just respond in the chat.
Oh, yesterday, Martha.
Yesterday,
Martha,
yep.
yesterday. Very good.
Michigan,
Maria,
Texas.
California in February. Good.
Today, we got it today.
Nice.
I love it, Wendy.
This morning.
This morning.
Very good. Very good. Several months ago. Haven't sent one yet. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, not yet. Very nice. And there was a question just before we asked this.
Yes, Kristen asked, what should we do if notices just sit for months? Kristen, I would recommend that you can either use the correspondence feature and correspond with the person that is assigned to that move notice. In addition, there is contact information for the user in the other state or district or region that is assigned. And if you're not getting a response from them just via the correspondence feature, you can feel free to send them an email or phone call and make sure that they have everything that they need and request that they dismiss it from the queue. That way it will leave both your queue as well as theirs. And one other note is that move notices can only be dismissed by data administrators. So while our primary and secondary users can initiate a move notice, they cannot dismiss it. So I highly recommend if you did initiate that move notice and it's just hanging out in your queue, use that correspondence feature and go ahead and get in contact with the data administrator from the other side and make sure they have everything that they need.
And I was laughing because Annabelle said 15 minutes ago. I think that's the winner. Very nice. And Kristen said, perfect, thank you. That answered her question. And Veronica asked, can you show us how to see who the move notice corresponds to? I don't think we have that in any of the slides for this presentation. Sarah, do you think you could briefly describe it maybe?
Yeah, and Veronica, I just want to make sure that I understand the question. Are you asking the user who the move notice corresponds to, or are you asking the child the move notice corresponds to? I'm gonna guess user, but I just want to make sure I'm answering the correct question. User. So on the work list details page for the move notice, near the bottom, there should be a feature, and I'm doing this off the top of my head at the moment. There are some drop downs, and it describes kind of the process that the move notice has been to. And in one of those drop downs, you should be able to see all of the data administrators that the move notice is assigned to.
And you could always call the MSIX help desk. I put their information in the chat earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and just put it in again because the chat has been moving pretty fast and it's probably way far up there. So if you have a specific question about a specific move notice, feel free, email, call. They're really responsive and know the system quite well.
And yes, I just took a quick action to pull up a move notice in the MSIX system to make sure once you find the move notice in the work list history page, there should be a workflow section at the bottom. If you use the green arrows next to it, it will show you those data administrators along with what state they're with, phone numbers and email addresses of who the move notice is assigned to.
Veronica said, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think after this slide, we go to Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I know you've been hearing my voice and seeing me during the webinar today. I apologize. I wasn't here at the beginning. About 5 minutes before the webinar started, I got the daycare call that my daughter was running a fever and needed to go pick her up. So apologies that I missed the beginning, but I am here now.
So Sarah, we had two icebreaker questions at the start that you missed. What summer activity are you looking forward to the most?
I am looking forward to our trips to the beach. We have a family house on Long Beach Island at the Jersey Shore, and I cannot wait to spend some time there this summer with my family.
That was a very popular answer. And which MSIX functionality do you use most often?
I work a lot with the states on child count reconciliation, doing technical assistance calls and helping the help desk with any questions that come into them regarding child count reconciliation. So that report is definitely the #1 on my list.
And for those of you who might not know what child count reconciliation is, the way that the Office of Migrant Education gives out money to the states is via a formula. And the way that the formula works, it's complicated, but basically it's based on how many students are in each state. It's a complicated formula, but that's basically how it works. And so states have to submit a count of children. And so MSIX has a way that it counts the children in each of the states, and the states have their own systems which they use to count children. And so the reconciliation of the state number with the MSIX number, we refer to as child count reconciliation.
Thank you, Ben. And great question from Dee Dee. When is the information populated into the child count reconciliation report? So Dee Dee, there is a delay. So as I mentioned earlier, states submit files to M6. So that is kind of what I'll call day 0. Overnight, those files are processed, and then what I'll call day 1, you'll see that data reflected in the child's consolidated student record. On day 2, you will see that information reflected in the every report but child count reconciliation. And then finally on day 3, so kind of 3 days after that data was submitted to M6, that data is reflected in the child count reconciliation report. So if there is ever a discrepancy that you see between the data that you're finding in the child's actual consolidated student record, more than likely you're just in that processing period between when that data was submitted and when you will see it reflected in child count reconciliation.
And Kristen asked, dare I ask the formula? Like I said, it's complicated, so I'm not going to get too far into it today. I would suggest if you're interested in knowing more, you could contact your state MEP office. We typically go through the state directors for that sort of thing. So if you're interested, the director in your state, now I don't know which state you're from, Kristen, I'm sorry. But if you want to know more, I would suggest reaching out to them. And I imagine they'd be quite happy to tell you how that number gets calculated.
If
And
you
Tracy
do,
said,
go ahead. I was going to say, if you do have access to the child count reconciliation report, the logic rules that we use are posted there. It's called what is the category 1 and what is the category 2 determination. In addition, we have done a previous webinar and have some additional guidance within the training page on M6 about child count reconciliation. If you're curious, that's just resources that are out there right now that are available to everyone. Dee Dee, if it's not within the 3 days and you're seeing some discrepancies, please reach out to the help desk. They're absolutely there to walk through any specific differences that you're seeing. And if there's any issues or any bugs, they escalate them to our technical team. So they'd be happy to address any specific issues that you're seeing if you don't believe it's within that processing window that you're seeing the discrepancy.
Raquel asked, are adoption name changes handled via a reconciliation?
So any name change for a child would be done actually in your state system. And then that data should be then transmitted to M6 via the normal file submission process. The reconciliation is strictly for when we refer to reconciliation in M6, we're referring specifically to reconciling child counts between M6 and the state's MEP system. Okay, Ben, looks like we've answered some of the questions that have come through thus far. Please continue to ask questions in the chat and we'll pause briefly to answer those as we move through. So I have the pleasure of speaking about some recent M6 enhancements that we have made within the last year to the M6 system. Most of these have come from users like yourselves reaching out to the help desk, asking for new functionality. In addition, periodically throughout the year, we do have what are called usability studies. So you'll see those come out in the listserv where we request users of M6 to jump on a Zoom call with us where we walk you through some new functionality that we're thinking about putting in M6 and ask for feedback. Is it actually usable? Is it what you would want to see? Is it helpful? Is there something that we're missing? So some of these enhancements as well did come from usability studies that we have conducted with M6. So let's go ahead and jump to our first slide. This is just more of not really enhanced functionality of M6, but something new that has come out that you've probably noticed if you have logged into M6 since the March timeframe. We did add a new field for all of our users called job title. So this did used to be an optional field and was strictly a free-form text field that people could fill out if they wanted. Job title is now required. So after we deployed this enhancement to MSIX, the first time you logged into MSIX, you would have seen this update job title page. We now have a specified list of job titles that you can select. You have to select at least one. You can select more than one. And we still, if you don't fit into the job titles that you see here, you're also welcome to select the other and specify your specific job title that you have in your state. So this is a one-time thing. Once you updated it, you don't have to do it again. If your job title has changed or you've taken on a new role and you did need to update this, you are welcome to go into your own account page within MSIX and you can edit this and resubmit your account. So just a new feature that has come in that you should have seen after you logged in March. Okay, now getting into more of the fun functionality that we have deployed. So this one, as I mentioned, we do what are called usability studies. So one of the usability studies that we did, I think 2 years ago now, was about creating a My Lists functionality. So we always have the ability for MSIX users to create a list of student records. But what the initial functionality did was allow users to create custom lists. So you could create up to 60 lists and you could name them whatever you wanted, and you could add children to one or more lists depending upon what your needs are. And one thing that did come out of that usability study when we did it initially was the request to be able to share your lists that you created with another MSIX user. So at the time, we weren't able to put that enhancement in place during the release 2 years ago that we put in the My List functionality, but we did hear the users loud and clear. And so this was a functionality we were actually able to deploy this year, was allowing users to share lists amongst themselves within the MSIX system. So you can see here highlighted, you see at the top of your My List page, which you can access by going to My List from the left-hand navigation bar. You have a new functionality called Share. And what I'm going to walk through on the next couple of slides is how do you share those? So for instance, I'm logged in and I am user A, and I would like to share, you can see that list down there near the bottom. It's called Sharing Students. I would like to share that list with user B. So what I do is I select that share button that's located near the top of the page, and it will bring up a modal. And there's a couple of different steps. You select the list you want to share, the user you want to share it with, and then you're allowed to enter any comments into that modal about the list that you're sharing, and then you click share. So when we go to the next screen, you can see that now here user B has logged on, and that sharing students list that user A shared is now under a section called shared with me. And you can see it was sent by user A. You can see what the sent date was and any comments that user A had shared at that time. From here, you can either accept or delete the list. So if you'd like to accept it, and when you go to accept it, you can change the name of the list if there's something else that you would like to call it, or if you think that list was shared with you by mistake, you can also delete that list if it's not pertinent to you. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Oh, here's the accept. my bad, I did skip ahead a little bit. So here is the accept delete list modal. You can see you can change the list name there. as well as you can delete the list altogether, and then you hit the submit button. Okay, moving on to the next screen. And then once you have actually accepted, if you've accepted that list, you will see that that list just becomes another list within your set of lists as well. You can edit student records, delete student records. You can use that list to send a multi-move notice. It just becomes part of your list like any list that you actually created. A couple of things that I do want to note about this is that the list is a snapshot in time from user A. So if user A sharing students with me and I'm user B, but after I've accepted, user A deletes the list or adds or removes student records from their version of the list, those changes are not in user B's version of the list. So it's not a live edit between two users. It is a snapshot in time of the list between two users. So that is one thing to note about this. We did have a great question from Blanca about sharing lists, and I think Melissa did answer it, but I'll expand on it a little bit. You can share list actually with any other MSIX user from any state, any district that also has access to student records within MSIX. So that's all of your data admins, primary users, secondary users, any user within MSIX you can share a list with, and it doesn't just have to be a user within your state. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Quick poll question for everybody. What's a reason why it might be helpful for a recruiter to create a list of children in MSIX? And then why might you share that list with another MSIX user? Heather, yeah, definitely to send a multi-move notice. A list of which families you need to follow up with. Service tracking. One example that we heard, and again, I refer to child count reconciliation a lot as that's something that I work with a lot within the system. One reason that they talked about for creating lists would be for those 2-year-olds that are turning 3 during the performance period, to ensure that you're following up and verifying residency after they turn 3. So you could create a list of all of those 2-year-olds, share that list amongst users or recruiters or people that do those birth date checks and residency checks within your state. And you can work off that list, one shared list throughout the year. Gloria, great list of students excluded from the count, list for tutors, summer registrations. Absolutely. If you think they might be moving, it just gives you kind of that notice of, you can have that list to follow up if they've moved. You can use it to send that multi-move notice. Fantastic. Thank you all for those great answers. Okay, I think we're going to move on to our next functionality. So one of the enhancements that we made, and again, based on feedback from users like you, was to actually be able to break down the data in our student information reports and view that data by either region, district, or school. So back in March, we took those student information reports. There was 7 of them that we actually enhanced, and we put new filter functionality in place that you could search for region, district, and school and view the information in that report only for one of those. So if you want to move to the next slide. we're showing an example here. So looking at the MSIX child count filter, you can see where that arrow is. For drill down level, it used to only be national, state, and state districts. And now that you can see there, it's also state districts, state schools. And if your state does in fact organize by regions, we know regions is a specific MSIX construct. So if your state does organize by regions, you will also see your state name there and then regions, similar to what we see with state districts. So in this case, we're going to walk through an example where we're going to want to filter our child count specifically to a few districts within Illinois. So the first thing that you would do, it would be to select the radio button for that. And then you would come down and under district search, this is a type ahead completion type of field. So the minute that you type just one character, it will start populating a list for you. And then you can continue to type characters, or you can just use the scroll bar to find the district that you're referring to. Once you find that district, you will select it. And then on the next screen, you'll see that that district is populated in the selected districts box there. One thing to note is that you can select all districts. When you look up at district search and select all, that will populate the selected districts with all districts within your state. And then also to note, if you accidentally chose the wrong district or region or school, you can use the little X, the green X next to the specific district, delete that, and the report won't filter on that particular district. The other thing that I want to highlight here is for both regions and districts, you can also display the data by kind of one level down. So if you're running this filter on regions in your state, that little checkbox will say display data by district. So instead of searching for all the districts in a particular region, you can just filter by the region, select the display data by district, and then on the next page, when you actually run the report, you'll see all of the districts listed for the region that you selected. Melissa, you want to go back for me one moment? In this particular case, we're looking at districts. We have 3 districts listed there, but we want to display the next data on, then we want to actually display the data by school. So as you can see, we have Beardstown, Riverdale, and River Forest. But when we go to the next slide, we'll see that we have those 3 districts listed, but we also have all of those schools within that district listed. Again, it makes it much easier if you're looking for data at the school level, but you want it for everything in the district. You can use that functionality versus selecting every individual school. Same thing for if you're looking for a particular district in a region, you don't have to search particularly for that district. You can do it at the region level. So do you want to hop over to the chat? Child count report, I'm sorry, the child count is specifically for data administrators, but other student information reports such as M6 ID report, course history assessments, those are available also to secondary users as well as primary users in the M6 system. So it just depends on which report you're looking at. Some have a more broad audience than others. Okay, and then if we're looking for the specific children that do populate the data here we're looking at the M6 ID count report. We can actually select the value listed under one of the 3 column headers, and that will actually take you to a drill down page. So in this particular example, we're going to select that value of 8 next to Guard Elementary School. And go to the next slide, Melissa. you would see this drill down. Of course, we want to ensure not to show any student information. So you see it's blurred out here. But when you selected that count of 8 from the previous page, you'll see the specific student data, including MSIX ID, state student ID, last name, first name, date of birth, etc. And one thing to note is, I think this was about a year ago that we deployed. If you select the MSIX ID from a drill down page, it will open up the student's consolidated student record report in a new browser tab or in a new browser window. So that way you don't also lose the place that you had in the report itself. You can use the in-report navigation, but also still be able to look at the child's consolidated student record. Okay, so that was our student information reports. Again, we made this change to 7 of the student information reports. I'm gonna go ahead and check the chat. I do see it kind of buzzing along. Ray, can you expand? Oh, Ray, we actually didn't deploy this district region school functionality to child count reconciliation report. We only did it to the MSIX child count report. I know that's a little bit difficult. There are 2 reports that are similar. One is child count, that's under student information. It does have this region district school filter functionality. Child count reconciliation does not. Dee Dee, yes. District MSIX users should have access to the reports. All primary and secondary users do have access to most of the student information reports. Again, the 2 I don't believe they have access to is MSIX child count and potential missed enrollments. But they should have access to the rest of the reports and can utilize the region, district, and school filter functionality. Esmeralda, we don't have a specific view for each of the reports in this webinar. I encourage you to reach out to the MSIX help desk. They would love to kind of walk you through each of the reports and the filter functionality that you can see there.
And Esmeralda, I'll also add that the Learn More button right here is a great tool within each report to tell you more about what the report is actually showing. So that's clickable and will expand as well.
Online help as well. There's some jump boxes to the student information reports and all the various reports and functionalities in MSIX, and also provides you additional information about how to use the filter, what the filter options are, and additional information about what you are seeing in each of the individual reports as well. And Melissa, if I'm correct, I believe that takes us to the end.
So I think there was at least one question we didn't respond to, and I think it was from Sharita from Delaware. I'm having a hard time finding it right this moment. Let's see if I scroll back up. There it is. No. Sharita, do you think you could put your question in again? I feel like you had one we didn't answer, but I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, there it is at 11:48. Sharita asked, are reports live? For example, if a student reaches their end of eligibility date, will the system automatically take them out of the counts?
No, I'm going to say it depends upon the report. So for example, I'm going to go with the child count report because that is one that very much depends on eligibility. Even though a child may have ended eligibility during the performance period, they still, if they did have eligibility at any point in the performance period, they still could potentially be counted in the child count report as category 1 or category 2 for that performance period. So no, the system won't automatically take them out. And in fact, at this point, all data in MSIX, whether the child has reached end of eligibility or not, remains in MSIX and is viewable by the end user. And that goes for the child's consolidated student record, as well as any reports. If they fit the filter criteria that you have set on the report, you'll see that child appear on that report as well.
I just answered Edgardo's question in the chat about giving access to MSIX. We don't give access to people in the states. That's up to the specific states. So if, let's say, you're in Illinois, you would contact the Illinois State MEP program, and they would be able to, and you might want to go through your district, lead person to contact them to determine if you should have access to it and how you would do that.
I think there's a question we had missed from Virginia earlier. How do I check to see if I've already completed the update job title? If you're no longer getting prompted when you first log into the system, it means that you are there. You actually couldn't move forward in MSIX unless a job title had been selected. If you want to view what job title was either you selected, or if you were actually a new user after we deployed the functionality, it would have been up to your user administrator to choose. But if you select your name in the top right corner of MSIX and then select the My Account, it will open your page and it'll show you exactly what job title was selected for you.
All right, so we'll give folks a few minutes to put in any more questions that we might have. We answered a lot during the presentation, so I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't too many outstanding questions. I do have up on the screen, we have up the contact information. That's me, Benjamin Starr, benjamin.starr@ed.gov. I mean, this is a big part of my job. So if you have any questions, please, reach out to me. I'd be happy to, if I can't answer it, I'll be sure to point you in the right direction to the person who can. And we've also got the help desk's information up there. We put that in the chat a couple times, the email address, the phone number, the hours. They're getting a day off for Memorial Day on Monday, which I'm sure they like. And then there's Juneteenth in June, and then the 4th of July. But they're open a lot and very, very responsive. So please reach out to them.
And I recommend also reaching out to the help desk. It's not just for issues that you're experiencing. Definitely reach out with questions, and definitely reach out with enhancement suggestions or things that would make the ability for you to use MSIX more productively, easier to use. We do listen to those suggestions, and we really do try, as we're planning for out years, to include those enhancements and suggestions into the system to make it better to use for you.
A comment just came through in the chat from Heather, and I wanted to read it aloud. Thank you to everyone who sends move notices to California. We really appreciate it. Keep adding phone numbers, please. That's a comment that we get a lot from MSIX users. When you are sending move notices, add phone numbers.
And that's an enhancement that we're planning for the near future. It's not final yet, but we're pretty sure we're going to be adding phone number and email addresses for all the students that we can get them for. So hopefully in the near future, that will be something that will help a lot.
Yes, but for now, that's what that correspondence feature is for. Please, any information that you can provide to assist either the receiving or sending state in finding and enrolling the child in the MEP is super helpful and greatly appreciated.
Well, we want to say a big thank you for you guys taking your time today and speaking with us all. So we're going to stop the recording.